There are some Godzilla films which are not very well thought of, but which I will nevertheless be prepared to defend. Then there's Godzilla vs. Megalon. In the early 1970s, Japan faced an energy crisis. The Godzilla franchise, meanwhile, was facing competition from television, which was now becoming more widespread. People were less likely to pay to go to the cinema if they could just stay at home and watch something very similar on the telly. As a result, by this point, Godzilla was being made for younger viewers, which is the classic sign of a series on a downward spiral. The basic storyline actually sounds quite promising. A sunken continent called Seatopia is facing destruction because of underwater nuclear testing. But rather than try to negotiate with the countries up above, instead they send a giant beetle with drills for arms to trash Japan, which at that point was probably the country least likely to be involved in nuclear testing. They also have the help of Gigan, because apparently the Seatopians are friends with the alien cockroaches who own Gigan. I expect they met down the pub or something. By this point, the Godzilla franchise really had become stale, and dependent on recycled material from earlier films. Godzilla is joined by a grinning robot called Jet Jaguar, who is clearly an attempt to cash in on the Ultraman series. Ultraman was a TV show about a robot who could grow to giant size in order to fight giant monsters and threats from outer space. These included Godzilla wearing what seems to be an Elizabethan ruff. Jet Jaguar grows to giant size, naturally, and he and Godzilla are soon facing off against Gigan and the Megalon. There is a stereotype regarding old Godzilla films. Everyone just thinks of them as big rubber monsters, lumbering about, stumbling into each other in fights where nobody actually seems to get hurt. This could almost be the film that inspired that image. The problem is the fight scenes have just become cartoon-like. Godzilla himself is more or less thrown in as an afterthought and seems to do very little. He needs to be rescued by Jet Jaguar. He performs a flying kick that makes him look like he's propelled by jet power. Either that or baked beans. Godzilla's costume is now utterly cartoon-like. In fact, he looks more like a giant ape than a dinosaur. The Seatopians don't fare much better. Is it me, or does their high priest just look like a trucker?
The next year met a trucker named Lou. He showed my window what a Yorkie bar could do.
Naturally, Godzilla and Jet Jaguar save the day. And so what is the moral of this film exactly? The people trying to stop the nuclear testing have been defeated, and now the nuclear testing can go on as usual. The original Godzilla series of films did improve after this. They made 2 good films after this, both of which involved Mechagodzilla. But at this point you're just left wondering where exactly the big G goes from here.